Video games are a very interactive source of media. Now, what comes to your mind first when I say that? Now, most of you watching will probably think of the gameplay, the flesh and bones of the game. You're spending most of your time either exploring, saving the world, or maybe climbing a stupid mountain while dying over and over and over and... But we never think of a story as interactive. Now, most of you can say that you have played games with great stories. The Last of Us, God of War, Firewatch, and so on. These games have a remarkable story, and to many have characters they admire and care about. So let's grab some popcorn, sit back, relax, be aware that I'm spoiling a ton of games in this video. Here's the list, so if you haven't played any of these, stop watching and play some of these. I promise, they're worth your time. And let's hop into how to tell a story in a video game, and why they are one of the most interactive parts of one. Before we begin today, I want you to real quick look at this moment from Celeste. For those who have not blessed themselves with this utter masterpiece, this is a sequence where Madeline has a panic attack. Theo, a guy who is just climbing this mountain like it's the easiest hike in the world, tries to give advice to steady her breathing. But the best part about this sequence is that you don't see Madeline steady her breathing. The game gives you the task of doing this. The game could have easily made it so that you just watch her calm down, but instead it tries to interject you into the situation, putting you in the condition of having a panic attack and trying to calm down. Most games give you a simple multi-choice option for the illusion that you are making an impact on the story. Here, you really are. And when you get off that gondola, you feel a sense of relief, just like Madeline. This was one of the best sections of the game for me. I had my friend who suffers from anxiety attacks watch this scene, and he said that it was nearly identical to his experience with it. Having fear and a sense of panic take over, and not being able to control your emotions. The music in this section is also phenomenal. You hear a slowed down piano version of Madeline's theme, and then you hear the anxiety, the panic, the chaos come in and drown the piano out. And when you manage to calm down, you finally hear the piano once again. This isn't the only sequence in a video game that made me feel like I was making an impact on the story. Nor is it the only sequence in a game that has depicted mental health in such a realistic way. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In my opinion, the job of a story in a video game is to have the player feel like they are part of the journey. But how can you feel like you're part of a journey when everything major is done for you? Firewatch is a game that exploits your paranoia in a way that makes you feel like you are being watched at every point in the game. However, you don't have beautiful, detailed cutscenes. The story is told through the things you find in the person on the other side of the radio. The game doesn't hold your hand, that's what I'm trying to say here. You guide yourself through the forest, you choose what to say into the radio, and sure, it doesn't really impact the story in any major way, but it makes you feel like you were the one who guided these characters. Mental illness is a very difficult subject to portray in any sense of media. Either it feels forced or it feels like it was just simply put in there to get a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. However, in video games, you have the ability to put people in the perspective of a mentally ill person, and 2 games, in my opinion, do this remarkably well. We already discussed Celeste's mental breakdown scene, but there is also something else here, something that you develop over time. Anxiety. Not anxiety of the unknown, but anxiety of getting farther and farther and still not making it. Getting so close to the end of the screen and then dying. All that previous work for nothing. It taps into the feeling of failure. I'm not able to do this. Why am I doing this to myself? Why do I keep trying so hard to succeed when all my attempts feel futile? Now, what do you think was going through Madeline's brain when she got sent all the way back to the start? Oh man, that was probably one of the dumbest jokes I ever made. She probably felt the exact same way. Why did I go so far just to be sent back to square one? Why am I trying so hard at something that seems impossible? And the answer is simple for both the player and the character. Everything else you accomplished to get to that point, to get to that area, would be pointless if you quit right then and there. It takes you through the whole feeling of doubt, questioning why you're doing this, and accomplishment when you get to the top. The same process Madeline goes through in the game, and I think that's pretty remarkable. The second is Omori, and while I could go into the less friendly side of the game, for now I'm gonna dive into a subject talked about less. A couple months ago, a video by Daryl Talks Games released where he goes into something called Dissociative Amnesia and why he believes Sunny suffers from this condition. For those who do not know, Dissociative Amnesia is a symptom originating from PTSD, where somebody, often suffering with traumatic memories, may simply have that experience completely erased from their conscience. But that does not mean that it is completely gone. In many cases, people suffering from dissociative amnesia experience images or even whole mental episodes and disturbing thoughts linked to the trauma. And I, as well as many others, believe that Sunny is a victim of this. Throughout the game, we see Sunny experience many twisted things from his past. However, we don't know what or why it is, and neither does Sunny. We experience these mental episodes and hallucinations from the perspective of Sunny. What he doesn't know, we are also not aware of. But we also see, or rather experience, the recovery of the trauma as well. The truth section is a segment where Sunny remembers the truth of Mari's death. However, the player, as well as Sunny, witnesses the truth through photographs. Throughout the game, these photos are meant to give the player insight on what the characters are all like, and for Sunny to remind him of the fun, joyful memories he and his friends had. Here, they are meant to bring back the bad ones. This is where we see the reality of Sunny's situation and what actually happened. As Sunny's remembering what happened, we are learning what happened as well. And for many people who recover, it is simply an image leading them closer to remembering, and Omocat takes that into account here. Now, I could talk about the other thing that Omori deals with, like the only way out of white space and how it takes that disturbing thing you have to do and twist your mind to normalize it, only to have it force you to remember how disturbing and twisted it really is, self-forgiveness, etc, etc. But that could be an entire video by itself, so I'll save it for another time. But to wrap this whole thing up, I should put out there that having a story tell itself through cutscenes isn't horrible. No, I'm not saying you should have played as the Marine that shot Joel's daughter, absolutely not. I'm saying that for the player to feel more invested into the story, it doesn't just have to be good. You have to make the player feel like they are part of it. It has to feel interactive. I think in this video we have come full circle more than once, but I truly believe that if you want to have an interactive experience, you also have to apply that to the story and let your creativity flourish.